The Flyers are looking for a do-it-all play driver who almost certainly is going to stick down the middle at the NHL level. They could do a lot worse than Caleb Desnoyers, and he's a player that they just might have a little bit extra inside information on due to a family connection. So let's take a look at Caleb Desnoyers. He's 6'1", 172 pounds, had 84 points in 56 games in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League this past year, and he is the younger brother of one Elliot Desnoyers, who the Flyers took in the 5th round of the 2020 NHL Draft. That said, he's a much, much better prospect than Elliot was. Unlike Elliot, who, if he hits, and he is still in the Flyers organization, if he were to make it to the NHL level and stick, he's always been viewed as more of a role-playing bottom sixer. Caleb Desnoyers' upside is significantly higher. If he hits, he could be a top 6 center on a playoff team who can do pretty much everything out there and do it all well. So let's go into Caleb Desnoyers' strengths. At the top of the list, hockey IQ. Everyone gives Caleb Desnoyers extremely high grades for the way he thinks the game and the positions he puts himself on the ice. He's just a really smart player. He finds ways to get open, find soft spots in the offensive zone, and above everything else, he just makes life easier for his line mates and for all of his teammates on the ice. He's just one of those guys that makes everybody around him better. And there really aren't any glaring weaknesses in Caleb Desnoyers' game. He's pretty good at basically everything in hockey: skating, shooting, passing. He's good at it all. There aren't any glaring holes. And as for the physical side of his game, look, Desnoyers is not going to be throwing his weight around constantly, but he will hit, he can play physical. He does have the size to play that kind of game, and he's willing to play a hard game as well. He's willing to take contact. He's willing to battle in the high danger areas, along the boards, behind the net. And the general consensus is that his game expects to translate very, very well to the playoff style. After all, he's pretty much won at every single level. He just got to the Memorial Cup with his Quebec Major Junior Hockey team. He won the Quebec Major Junior Hockey Championship this season with that club. He is viewed in hockey circles as a winner, the kind of guy that is on winning teams and helps to drive winning teams. And that's a real point in his favor as well, which plays into the final major strength. He's viewed as an extremely high character player, the type of guy who teammates love, coaches love, willing to do anything for the team, which again, plays into that playoff element, the kind of guy who's going to be blocking shots at the end of the game, killing time at the end of a game they're trying to save. He's just the kind of guy that teams want on their club. Okay, so what about the weaknesses? Well, the big weakness is that while Desnoyers is good at everything, he's not really great at any one thing. He doesn't have that signature, standout, dynamic trait that sets him apart from the rest of the group. He's just good at everything, not great at one thing. And it's that lack of a dynamic element, that lack of a signature skill that does make some in the game, some scouts worry about his ultimate upside. Everybody pretty much believes he's going to be a good player, but can he be a great player without being great at any one specific thing? It's a serious question. And while his skating is good, it's a bit stiff. His edges aren't the best. And as with a lot of the rest of his game, he doesn't necessarily have a dynamic element to his stride. As for the way he plays offense, look, he racks up points. He scored a ton of points in the Q this year, but stylistically, he does play more of a support game. Again, making life easy for his line mates, but not necessarily being the driver of the offense. He's the guy who just happens to show up right when the puck's loose and pops it in the net, which, hey, a goal's a goal, but he's not the guy who's driving through the offensive zone and weaving in and out. He's not that kind of high-skill player. He thinks the game very well, but he's not necessarily driving the offense with the flashy plays like some other guys at the top of this draft do. Finally, Caleb Desnoyers does play in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, which is generally speaking viewed as the weakest of the 3 major Canadian junior leagues, definitely weaker than the OHL and the WHL, and that does call into question quality of competition, at least to a degree. Now, Desnoyers almost certainly is going to stick down the middle as a center. There are fewer questions about his ability to be an NHLC than basically any of the other guys at the top of this draft. And he'll almost certainly be a quality NHLer regardless. His floor is very, very high, given the well-rounded skill set, given his hard-to-play against style, and given the fact that he's just a really high character, good kid. But does Caleb Desnoyers have the ceiling of a first-line NHL center? That is the big question. He might just be a really good 2C even in a best case scenario. And that might not be enough for a team like the Flyers picking at 6 and looking for a core star level guy. Or maybe the Flyers look at Desnoyers, they see a high character guy who's going to get the most out of his talents, and they figure he's more of a sum of the parts, turns him into an impact NHL center.